Hello, and welcome to Facet Nation, a Gemmology podcast. My name is Simon.
And I'm Lucinda.
Today, we're going to be talking about jadeite. Now, I don't profess to know a lot about jadeite, and it's also quite scary from a gemmological point of view. So I'm looking forward to this. Lucinda has kindly put together this episode for us, and I, along with you, am going to learn quite a lot today, I think.
I know, it's a really good one. It was so much fun putting together the notes for this. But as Simon says, you can spend an entire lifetime, a whole career learning about jadeite. So we are not claiming to be the world's foremost experts.
Far from it.
Yeah, jadeite has been revered across cultures for centuries, but weirdly, almost not in the London trade, I would say. It's comparatively unknown here, I would say.
Yeah, unless you're Pat Daly, apparently.
Exactly. So we will, at some point, this is our solemn oath to you, get some jadeite experts on the podcast. But for now, we're going to dive into the course notes, and then we're also going to talk about what is not in the course notes.
We are.
I wanted to kick things off with an anecdote because I think this really illustrates, and Simon, you may not actually remember this.
I don't remember much, so that's probably fair to say straight off the bat.
I think this anecdote really illustrates the struggle around jadeite, especially in the UK. So once upon a time, Simon and I were students in our diploma class at Gem. We were young, we were so full of hope, and we sat a practice exam. Young-ish, younger.
Some of us.
Younger than today. This was probably a year ago.
Yep.
And it might have actually been a block review. I don't remember. But the question asked for 2 examples of a rock. And we took Craig to task over this a little bit because in the course notes at that time, there was only one rock that any of us knew, and that was lapis lazuli, right? So what was the second? Well, no spoilers, but we are going to talk about it today because jadeite is, as I said, an example of where the Gem course notes are right, but they're also wrong. And so the gemmological community is kind of speaking 2 different languages depending on what they're reading to, listening, learning, how much they actually care about jade and jadeite as a category. So there's a lot to learn. Let's get started.
Yeah, by all means, let's.
All right. So according to the Gem course notes, jade is, in fact, a rock. It's very tough. It's very beautiful, but it is not to be confused with nephrite, which is another rock, which is under the umbrella term of jade.
Yeah. But jadeite, obviously, with its jadeite suffix, isn't a rock. Well, I suppose it sort of is. It's the mineral as well, though. And we will we'll get into a bit more of that as we progress through the episode.
It will all become, if not clear, a little more illuminated, hopefully.
Yeah.
So the color of jadeite, the clue is in the name. It's a pale to deep emerald green. It's kind of typically mottled green and white or deep green to black. That is your typical jadeite, but that is not the only color that you'll find.
Yeah, so jade comes in like quite a lot of colours, actually. I suppose it's fair to say that jadeite, along with a lot of other gemstones, isn't really the colour that you sort of imagine it is. And there are different varieties and different reasons why a gemstone appears different colours, as we've discussed previously, and jade isn't an exception here. So you get different types of jade. So Imperial Jade is the one that you might think of, I suppose. It's the bright green, that sort of translucent, almost transparent, bright, glowing, if you like, green colour, which is like, the poster boy for jadeite.
And I think is what people have in mind when they call something like jade green or name somebody Jade.
I would agree.
They're thinking of that. Then you have, this one really confuses people, I know firsthand. It is icy jade. It's kind of semi-transparent, colorless to green, but often kind of a light blue. It can also be called water jade. It's really strange. It's a really cool material because it has that same kind of luminosity that Imperial Jade has, but it looks like a ghost a little bit.
Ghostly jade might be a better
giving
name.
Ghostly vibes.
And then you have all your like other colors as well. You get mauves, whites, reds, oranges, yellows, browns, violets, and lavender. You particularly like the lavender ones, I
I
understand.
love lavender jadeite. Love it. And because why not? If you're going to be confusing and jadeite wants to be confusing, let's be extra confusing. So nature has also fashioned a variety of jade called moss sit, which is bright and dark green in a discernible pattern with black spots and veins that looks a lot like other jadeite simulants. So it's just a bit of a fuck you to gemmologists everywhere, I feel.
So what I understand about more sits is it's like jadeite, but it hasn't got as much jadeite in it or enough jadeite in it to call it jadeite.
Exactly.
It's got like
it's kind of the shit version.
Other stuff in it, and it's like I suppose the majority isn't jadeite, therefore we don't call it jadeite, we call it more sit, but it does have jadeite in it still. That's right.
Yes, and it's like from a very specific region. And when we talk about like jadeite, like the mineral and the material, it's these little nuances, which is like there's jadeite in it, but is it enough jadeite? People are really arguing about this, and it is a big topic that we're going to talk about later. But for now, transparency. Opaque to semi-transparent. The really nice stuff is that semi-transparent Imperial Jade that we were just talking about.
Yeah, it's got a greasy luster often, but it can also be quite bright and vitreous as well. I guess you kind of also get it gets a bit chalky as well when you treat it, but we'll get into that a bit later. But yeah, so you've got a lot of different lusters going on, perhaps.
Yeah, a hardness about 7, so pretty standard. Nothing's going to stand out.
Yep, stability is good.
And toughness, this is where jadeite really shines. She's got excellent toughness, and that is because she's polycrystalline. So we keep insinuating that things are going to get more complex. They are going to get more complex, but let's just say polycrystalline is a starting point.
Are we going polycrystalline, or are we going a little bit smaller than that? Maybe like microcrystalline?
Cryptocrystalline?
Is it a cryptocrystalline? Yeah. So the crystal grains are pretty fucking small, is basically what we're getting at, which is why they're so bound together, and that's what creates that toughness, because they're like, yeah, those tiny little grains. Because if you've got great lumps of things in like a sort of big grained polycrystalline material, then I guess it's not going to be quite as tough because the grains are bigger.
Exactly. And I kind of think of it like when you have a bag of like scrap chain and you get the really fine ones that are basically impossible to untangle from each other because they're so small and they're locked together so tight, you just can't prise them apart. It's infuriating.
I've spent so much time digging away at clumps of chain with some tweezers.
Poking it, pulling it.
Yep.
And that's what's going on in jadeite. It's just locked together.
Yeah,
which means
wound around itself, getting all tangled and shit. And yeah, I guess that's quite a good analogy, actually. I quite like that.
Thank you. Another useful thing, if you think, take this to its logical endpoint, you're never going to find cleavage in jadeite because every grain is doing its own thing, but in the middle of doing its own thing, it's also holding on to its neighbors for dear life. So you knock it, you should be okay. You might take a chunk off, but it's not going to destroy your stone. In most cases.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. That all makes sense. Jadeite occurs as a metamorphic rock. Now, we haven't spoken much about geology yet, thankfully, and we're sort of avoiding that a little bit. But that basically means it's formed under enough heat and or pressure to change the rock, but it doesn't actually melt, because if it melted, it would start all over again and be igneous.
Exactly, it becomes something else. Sit here, it's like a lovely sous vide. Imagine your boulder just being gently cooked.
Just sort of like simmering away.
Exactly.
In a vacuum sealed bag.
So what is in that bag? Jadeite is part of the pyroxene group of minerals, so it's related to spodumene, diopside, and ensteatite, if I said that wrong. Remember those names because it's going to become important later, but what you need to know at this point is jadeite is found in huge boulders, which can be shaved in half or skinned, and then they're sold based on kind of what people think is going to be inside. It sounds like a crazy process that I'm desperate to see.
Yeah, it's wild. Like we saw some pictures of them, and when we say like huge boulders, we're talking like human-sized boulders. They're fucking massive. And then you just sort of cut a bit of it or polish a sort of window into it, have a little look in, see if you can see sort of some nice green patches, and then you're like, well, let's just fucking dive straight in with a chainsaw or whatever you use to do it, cut it open, and hope to God that you don't slash through a bit of the nice green stuff. It's actually pretty nuts, because I suppose sometimes you could just be like, yeah, I'll have your boulder, sir, and then cut it open, and it's like there's nothing in it. It's all
Nothing in it.
It's all pretty shitty and white, and not your bright green lovely.
And these are like huge amounts of money that we're talking about here. Huge amounts of money, huge amounts of experience. I'm desperate to see it.
Yeah, it's not something that I would fancy staking great lumps of cash on, to be honest, without sort of, having you'd want to, like when you play poker or bingo online or something like that, you'd want to be playing for no money first few times until you actually figure out how to do this thing. And then you'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll feel a bit more confident at this.
If I had unlimited amounts of money, or like if I had been born into extreme wealth, 100% I would be a jadeite dealer.
Oh, is that right?
It just feels, first of all, love gems, love jadeite.
How do you lug the fucking great boulder around?
You can pay people to do that for you.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry, because you've been born into extreme wealth, so you've got people doing that sort of shit for you.
Exactly. I haven't, I don't know, name an endangered animal, and that will be dragging my sledge of jadeite boulders.
Right, yeah, okay, fine.
I just can't imagine the kind of high that you would get spending that amount of money and then waiting to cut it open to see.
Yeah, just digging in and being like, yes, there's a green bit.
So we bought our hypothetical jadeite. We are billionaires. How are we fashioning it, Simon?
So jade is often seen as a nice polished, rounded cabochon. Yeah, you have a story about jadeite, I think.
I do. So one of the only pieces of jewelry to survive in my family, which all of my family jewelry is cursed, as we know, is a jadeite charm bracelet from Hong Kong. Word on the street is my great-grandmother picked it up there long ago. And my mom, I love my mom, but she did get drunk on New Year's Eve, so she gave it to me, then took it back because she didn't think I could keep it safe. Then she got drunk and she smashed 2 of the genuine jadeite charms on it. Like, most of it is nephrite, and there's 2 jadeite charms, and she just smashed them up. So if anyone has a line on some jadeite charms, I'm looking.
I follow an Instagram account that's like for like real jade. It's called like Real Jade or something. And they're like passing bangles around. And one of the things I saw today actually was when you're passing a jade bangle, don't pass it to someone's hand. Put it like on a tray and let them pick it up, because if you drop it, you can break it. Even though it's like super tough, so like you're not supposed to be able to break it. But there's a whole sort of lore around breaking jade and breaking jade bangles, isn't there? In that if you have a jade bangle, you sort of have it as a kid and then you grow into it, and then it more or less doesn't come off because it can't come off because your hand's sort of grown too big for it to come over your wrist. And they say that if you break the jade bangle while it's on your wrist, that jade has protected you from the injury and taken on the pain and the injury for you and saved you from hurting yourself, which is kind of cool.
It is very cool. And we'll talk a little bit more about this tremendous culture and mysticism around jadeite as well. Have you seen a lot of jadeite cross your desk as a jeweler for so long, Simon?
Absolutely not. No, I don't even know where you get it from. Like if someone came in and said, I would like a lovely piece of bright, translucent, transparent jadeite, I would have no idea where to begin.
No, nor I. If it's not in Marcus McCallum's drawers, I'm not sourcing it.
Yeah, I guess if you wanted to carve out a niche, then you could import some and start doing it. Perhaps that's something you should consider. Because it's lovely. Like there's no arguing that.
Lovely.
Like it's really, really, really lovely in its best form.
Indeed, including my favorite thing at the Cartier exhibition this year. I don't know if anybody managed to go in London. There was a jadeite bead necklace with a ruby clasp that was maybe the most beautiful thing I have ever seen.
So you know when you follow other gem enthusiasts on Instagram, and like every single one of them has been to the Cartier exhibition, obviously, because what you're doing if you didn't go. Shout out to Helen Molesworth for putting that together. And most of the people I find that went to the exhibition, you know, when you can choose like your 10 or 20 photos to put on your Instagram post, most people's first one is the jade necklace. I think it's mine actually, because when I went, I think my first photo is the jadeite necklace, because it was really quite breathtakingly beautiful.
And for gemmologists as well, so that's like Imperial Jade and Burmese rubies, and you're just never going to see material like that anywhere else.
Burma, bringing the heat.
Absolutely stunning. So yeah, all of which is to say that beads are also common with jadeite. So it's your beads, your cabochons, your carving. But one thing that you might see, especially on antique stones, is called the orange peel effect. So this is basically a result of uneven polishing from when people were polishing pre-diamond polish. And it's due to the hardness of the randomly oriented crystals. And it's kind of, I mean, it is what it says on the tin, right? It's like, it looks like the skin of an orange.
Yeah, because if you don't polish it with with diamond grit, basically, you're kind of, rather than sort of smashing through the different grains at a sort of an even rate, you're kind of digging some of the grains out, and that sort of leaves little pits and holes in the surface, rather than you being able to create this sort of even polish across the whole thing, which your diamond grit then sorts out for you, because it can sort of it's so hard, it's getting across everything sort of at an even pace, I suppose.
Exactly. So where are we going to find jadeite in the world, Simon?
Well, not in China, even though that's basically the place in the world where you associate jadeite with, or jade at least. China is obsessed with jade and carving it for the last 7,000 years or something. But what they've actually been carving for the majority of that time has been nephrite, which is a variety of jade, but is not a jadeite. So there's two types of jade: nephrite and jadeite. They've mostly been carving the nephrite until recently, in like the 1800s, which is recent, when they actually discovered proper jadeite. Proper is probably an unfair term, but jadeite, as it were, and started using that. But they've more or less been obsessed with this green rock for a long time.
Exactly. So not in China, but you will find it in Burma, which seems to be the locus of all the most beautiful things.
It's the joint where you find a lot of chromium, uninterrupted chromium, I suppose, is the key to this, because your green comes from chromium, and Burma seems to have chromium in spades, and it doesn't get mixed up with any other shit.
I was explaining the diva-ness of chromium to someone today in relation to their mother-in-law's emeralds. She was like, it's like, trust me, she's a nightmare. So Burma, California, the other locus of all wonderful things.
Yes, okay.
Russia, Guatemala, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Those are your big boys. And then Japan as well as a locality.
Yeah, interesting, that Guatemala thing, because when we spoke to Vim, which you will have, that episode has gone out by now. No, they will have done, because this is going to come out after that, I think.
Oh,
so,
great.
Yeah, I know, although we're recording it before it's come out, it's going to come out after.
There's a time lapse, guys. It's confusing.
Vim spoke about Guatemalan jade, and he's a big fan.
It's amazing, and we're going to do a whole episode on it, because it's just, there's too much to cover. Yeah. I'd be interested to see some Japanese jade.
Yeah, I'm interested to see all Japanese things. I like Japanese stuff.
Cool. So, jadeite, hugely valuable stone, very complicated gemologically, and like all valuable, complicated green things, there are a lot of
imposters.
Yeah, people pretending that what they've got is jadeite, but it isn't.
Yeah.
And Gemme are probably going to test you on this. We had one of these on our test. I know that the people before us, the online distance learners, had water jade on theirs. So
that's big, isn't it?
Nightmare.
Yeah, not good.
So
what are the imposters? What are the imposters?
Well, why don't you tell us, Simon?
Okay, I'll tell you.
Or we could take it turn by turn. Do you want to start with the big boy?
Yeah, so the main imposter, which we've mentioned a few times, is obviously nephrite. It's very closely related, but it's less valuable. It has a slightly different color to it. I sort of feel like if you're looking at nephrite, Rather than being sort of bright green, it's sort of a duller green. Is it fair to say? Maybe
That is fair to say.
And yeah, I feel like when you're buying your traditional jade bangle, which you can pick up on the internet quite cheap, I think a lot of the time it's nephrite, and they're not really misselling it because it's nephrite's a jade, but they're
It's
not
one of
calling
the
it a
true
jadeite.
jades.
They're not calling it a jadeite bangle, are they? I suppose if you buy a jadeite bangle and it's nephrite, then you've got something to moan about. But if you're buying a jade bangle and it's nephrite, you've more or less bought nephrite jade rather than jadeite jade.
Well, and historically speaking, that's what these ancient Chinese bangles would have been made of anyway. So are you actually buying the more historically accurate version?
It's true. It's like having an Amiga Speedmaster and not having a mechanical wind-up one rather than an automatic one, because the automatic one wouldn't have worked in space.
Is that a watch?
Yes.
I was thinking record player for a minute. I wasn't sure, but I'm with you.
No, Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong wore the Amiga Speedmaster to space.
Oh, cool. That's a nice bit of knowledge.
Yeah, I've got one.
Oh, cool. You've got quite a lot of cool stuff. You're quite a collector.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
All right, next on the list, I think we spend a lot of time going, ugh, when we talk about this. Bowenite serpentine. In our FGA class, it was lovingly referred to as gem snot. It is cheap. It's sometimes sold as new jade, which is just a marketing name, but it's this super specific yellow-green with a greasy luster, which really, that I feel greasy luster is meaningless until you've seen Bowenite serpentine.
Yeah, it's really giving the grease.
Yeah, it kind of gives me the ick, but like in a nice way. We bought a lovely serpentine bowl actually from Marcus.
Oh yeah, I bet that's quite nice actually.
Yeah, it was beautiful. We bought it for one of my boss's family members, and I was like, do I want to get this person Bowenite? But then I thought, actually, this looks great.
Good for carving.
Yeah, it does a nice job.
So the other one is steatite, which is basically just a massive version of talc, and talc, as we know, is 1 on the Mohs scale, so is like
sad,
fucking soft as shit. But also because it's soft as shit, you can carve it really nicely, but don't fucking go near it once you've carved it, because you're going to damage it, and it's going to sort of like fucking dust away into oblivion if you touch it after you've carved it. So you need to be quite careful. Yeah, it looks totally different. Well, it looks different, and it's more sort of silvery, whitey, a bit more ghostly again, would you say?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Another one, and this is one for just tourists and people who, like, I feel like this is an Etsy imitation vibe. Aventuring quartz. All it really has in common with jade is that it's kind of greenish from a distance and it looks kind of polycrystalline. You know, I guess if people can pass something off, they will, some people. But to be honest,
it's like a tenuous imitation, really, isn't it? Because, aventuring quartz is not even green.
Yeah. One thing is green and one is colorless with green inclusions.
Yeah, really not the same. Like if you are getting aventuring quartz and jadeite mixed up, then you need to go back to the drawing board.
Or just have a closer look. Closer look, take a deep breath, walk away.
Yeah, shine a light on it and see the spangle.
And then we're giving an honorable mention to glass. This is especially relevant if you guys are looking at vintage or antique jewelry. It can be valuable in and of itself. So there is a category of glass called Peking glass, which is historic and valuable in its own right. I have a mid-century glass imitation bangle, which I think is pretty cool. Lots of people actually get it mixed up with real jade. It's not. I actually bought it because you can see the swirls are just so different from anything that you would have in natural jadeite.
That bangle you're wearing is glass with swirly green bits in it.
Exactly.
Okay, nice.
Another hot tip for the exam: wear imitation jewelry, and then you'll be able to.
Did I leave this on? Sorry. Yeah, you got a fucking armful of bracelets with all different types of material.
Bowenite, stay tight.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just looking at my wrist. I don't know why. I like you know that milk glass that you get. That's quite a Japanese thing. I suppose that could be good copy for like your water jade or your icy jade. Yeah.
Glass does kind of a good job because it's got that translucence that's
And your
nice.
luster, yeah, it could, in theory, look like pretty high quality jadeite. I suppose you're only going to tell because it's softer.
Exactly. So let's talk about testing jade, because I know when we were doing our FGA, it was the one thing that we were, this and turquoise, I think, and maybe lapis, we were all really worried about. Like the group chat was blowing up. It's very intimidating.
I've spent far too much time trying to decipher these things when actually you can sort of make yourself feel a bit happier that they're going to make it relatively easy for you to tell. Like relatively easy, not super, super easy, but you're going to have a way of deciphering which it is. And it should be, there is a way. But in the real world, then yeah, you're in trouble.
Well, there's always a test that you can do, right? And a lot of these rely purely on observation. So what I like to do is I like to, especially with difficult ones, for example, turquoise, I think jadeite is another one, I like to categorize them in my head.
I
So
like
for
this.
every imitation, know kind of what you're looking for. And then as you're testing, you can just rule them out. It's a bit like a game of Guess Who. In the notes, I've written this long thing about Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy, but I can't get into that now.
Oh, I was looking forward to that.
Oh, okay. Let's do it then.
Yeah, like this was a bit I was quite into. So yeah, to do it, but like yeah, let's condense it, but still do it.
Okay, great. So, Simon, have you read Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy?
I haven't read it. I did see. There's a film, right? I think I've seen that.
Yes, with Gary Oldman.
It's really, really very good.
It's so good. I own it on Amazon.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a great novel. It's by John le Carré. If you guys haven't read it, I suggest you do, or you can listen to it on Audible. Also excellent. I listen to it every fall when I start wearing trench coats again.
Who reads that? I bet it's someone good.
I actually don't know, but it is somebody really good because it's quite a famous book. But essentially, what's happening in this novel is a retired civil servant, he's a spy, is trying to figure out who the mole in the security service is, right? So there's a Russian mole at the very top level of MI6, and he's trying to figure out who it is. And everybody gets a code name. So there's Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy, Rich Man, Poor Man, and Beggar Man. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. Everybody has something that's going to give them away. Jadeite is very much this way. So you've got some jadeite, maybe. You have something you think might be jadeite. And you also have 5 suspects. You've got jadeite, your rich man, nephrite, your soldier, steatite is your tinker, bowenite is your tailor, and aventurine is your sailor. I was on a train when I did this. I thought really hard about who each one should be.
Yeah, nice.
So let's get testing. Let's start with SG, Simon. Go on, tell us what to expect.
So SG, you're probably not going to have time to do this in your exam, but you could, because it's actually quite a good way of distinguishing between them. And the SGs are all written down in your little booklet, your gemstone booklet thing. So actually, if you can go to the effort of sort of doing your hydrostatic weighing or whatever, and you can figure out the different SGs of each one, you're probably going to do pretty well of sorting out your rich man and your soldier and et cetera, Yeah. So yeah, SG is a good one if you've got time.
And also remember, even if you don't have time, if it's just the theory exam, if they ask you, how would you tell this apart? Always just put SG because it's right in the back. Like you've got the values, you could get a quarter of a mark for it.
And the diiodomethane heavy liquid is fully set up for you for jade, I think, isn't it? But I think whatever the SG of that is the same as jadeite. So that's the one.
Yeah, easy peasy. Next up, hardness. So if you think about everyone on your docket, steatite is your poor man, right? So he is weak. He's going to be absolutely fucked. It will scratch if your fingernail gets too close. So if you see something really scratched, if you scratch it yourself, don't tell them that we told you to do that.
Don't do that.
Obviously, not your guy. Bowenite is a little bit stronger, but a steel probe test takes him out of the game. And aventurine quartz has the same hardness as jadeite, but it just looks so different. Like, come on, guys.
So what we're basically saying here is another good way of testing. So the two good ways of testing which ones are jadeite and which ones aren't are to hydrostatically weigh, which is a pain in the ass and takes a long time, or the scratch test, which you're not really supposed to do because it's actually destructive. So like if you've got a carving, then you might be all right doing a scratch test because you can do it on the base, on the underside.
Or a cabochon on the back.
Or yeah, okay, yeah. But like strictly speaking, if you're testing gems, you're not really supposed to be destroying them. I don't know, even though you're like only very minutely destroying them. But yeah, that is.
You're supposed to do it under magnification, aren't you?
Yeah, the scratch test would help you out, but you're not really supposed to do it.
All right, let's talk about RI. Simon, go on.
Yeah, so RI is the one that we told you about. Actually, we used jadeite and nephrite as an example in our refractometer episode because it's actually a really good way of deciphering between the two because they're generally not faceted, in fact, almost never faceted. And cut into cabochons, you need to be good at your distant vision readings. So, that's your very tiny blob and getting a bit of distance away from the eyepiece, etc., and following the blob down, etc. Jadeite is basically going to have one shadow edge across the blob at 1.66.
And that is just far enough from nephrite.
Yeah, because nephrite's like 1.61, 1.62, something like that.
Yeah, so you have to unfortunately, you do have to learn how to distant vision read.
Yeah, you need to be quite proficient at that.
Next up, spectrum. This one, have you ever seen a jadeite spectrum, Simon?
Yes, I have. In the course notes, there's a picture.
Oh, okay.
Other than that, no.
Yeah, because there is one, and it's diagnostic, which is fabulous, except you can't fucking see it. So it's a strong line in the blue/violet, which could be accompanied by lines in the blue. But because jadeite is colored by chromium, emerald green jadeite will also have a doublet in the red and maybe a line in the blue, which is a typical chromium spectrum. I have never seen such a thing, but I believe in you guys. I believe that you will see one day.
UV can be handy, particularly with like the dyed mauvey lavendery stuff, because the dye is going to fluoresce a sort of bright orangey color under long wave, whereas the natural sort of purpley color is going to fluoresce a weak brownish red.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just it's so niche, that response. Like, don't worry. I can
it's
sort
quite
out
cool.
this.
It's quite cool when what's that other bugger? I can't think what it is that glows, hackmanite, that has that sort of orangey glow when you fluoresce it. Is hackmanite, isn't it? I don't think so. But yeah, when you've got a nice orange vein of glowing in something, it looks cool.
It's pretty cool. I do like UV,
Yeah, so do I.
But guys, as always, the most useful test, observation. Take a deep breath, count to 5, really look at what you're testing, especially with something like jadeite. We'll say it again when we do turquoise. We'll say it again when we do lapis. The answers are all there. Like, this is the best thing that you can do. Nephrite is going to have those like black inclusions. It's going to have the different color that Simon mentioned. Bowenite is going to look like snot. It's going to have poor durability. And aventurine quartz, just come on, guys.
Yeah. So yeah, get your loop out and look for the grains. Look for all that sort of You should be able to have some idea between those.
Exactly. So the ideal thing is you'll have a look, you'll have a sense, and then you'll do your RI, and that will tell you for sure.
Yep. Treatments in jade. This is quite a big thing actually, because we're constantly trying to make things look better than they are with gem material, but jadeite has actually its own sort of categories, and they're like very specific to jadeite, and they all refer to how they're treated. And so why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, I found this categorization extremely confusing, and I think the reason why is because the way that I categorize treatments in terms of how not okay it is actually a little bit different from how the world of jadeite categorizes them. So I find it very difficult to keep straight. In general, there are 4 treatments that you need to know. So have these in your mind, and then we'll talk a little bit about how each treatment affects how the jade is categorized. So number 1 is going to be waxing. That's going to improve your surface durability and surface luster. Dyeing, which is going to improve color. Bleaching, which is going to even out your surface tone. And then resin impregnation. I hate it when people resin impregnate things. It's so creepy.
Well, unless it's like your Arizona turquoise, which you can't really do anything with unless you resin impregnate it, or like Blue John, for example. You need to do that with that as well, don't you?
Yeah. It just
The
feels so
United
invasive.
Kingdom wouldn't have a gemstone if it weren't for some sort of resin impregnation to stabilize Blue John. So
doesn't Scotland have Scotland has loads of amethyst and shit.
All right.
And smoky quartz, irradiated by the cosmic rays.
England, then.
All right, Simon, let's talk about these crazy categories.
Yeah. A is where we start the alphabet and where we start our categorizing of treatments of jadeite. A jade. This is basically jade, which is pretty bloody good. There's not much doing with it. You don't need to treat it much. But what you might do is it's basically a rock, which is an aggregate of microcrystals, and it's you're going to wax it, and that's all you need to do because it already looks pretty good. Same as you do with turquoise to even out the luster. It's not considered permanent, so you don't really need to necessarily disclose it as such. A jade is like the good jade, so if it looks good, all you do is wax it, just tart it up a little bit. It's kind of like with your emeralds when you're oiling them. Like they're nearly all oiled because they have these fractures and these like slight imperfections, and you're just making it look good. But if you want to make it look not so good, you can take the wax or the oil away, and no harm done. It's still the same thing.
Yeah, it's like blowing out your hair.
You're making it look better by blowing hot air at it.
Yes.
Or putting wax in your hair, like I do. There you
cosmetic
go.
zhuzh.
Cosmetic zhuzh with wax, which is what I do to my bonnet every day.
Lovely. So you are a jade, Simon.
My hair is a jade.
All right, B jade. So if you've got some jade from your giant boulder that you spent a fortune on, and it's low transparency and maybe not the nicest color, not the one that you love the most, you can help it out. So first you would bleach it in acids, and then you would resin impregnate it, which does sound like quite an extreme process.
Sounds pretty brutal, doesn't it? And also it sort of like wilts and gets a bit chalky and horrible when you acid it. So
I know.
Yeah.
But actually it's okay because crucially, when you resin impregnate it, you aren't dyeing it. That is not allowed. That is the cardinal sin. So if it is bleached and impregnated, it is only B jade. You're still okay.
Okay. Yeah. And then third on the list, the final treatment category, well, sort of the final treatment category, C jade. C jade is when you are dyeing it. So if it looks a bit sort of like anemic or pale or whatever, then you're going to get in between those grains. You're going to get the chromium-rich dye or your lilac-y lavender dye, which is going to fluoresce. You're going to shove it in the gaps. And you're sort of like, it's going to be like a green resin that you're shoving in there. Or like a dye that you're sticking in there. I shouldn't have said green resin because actually I'm getting ahead of myself.
It's confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's confusing. Yeah, so so C jade is dyed. Let's make that clear.
But don't worry, guys. It can get even more confusing because, as Simon has insinuated, there is such a thing as B plus C jade because they didn't just want to do D, I guess. I don't know why. And this is kind of the all of the above option. So this is material which has been bleached, dyed, and resin impregnated.
Yeah, this is beyond help. We're really sort of like scraping the barrel of jade here to try and make it look nice, but it's probably the most prevalent one, to be honest, and the stuff that you can sort of pick up. And if someone says, Simon, go and find me some jadeite, this is probably what I'd be able to get hold of. So yeah,
exactly. So that's it kind of for the gemmological portion of the podcast. We're now going to try our best as two people who have only ever lived in the US and Europe, unless you have like a secret Australia moment that I don't know about, Simon, to talk about the kind of cultural impact and history of jade, and also the discussion that's going on around jadeite in the gemmological world at the moment, which I've actually felt really sheltered from and didn't hear anything about until I started researching this episode. I don't know if you're a bit more au fait, Simon.
Absolutely not. No, this was all pretty much news to me when I read through your notes.
Okay, so it is a bit heavy, so we're going to try and bounce through it. But essentially, jade has been this like crucial material in China, but also in Central American societies. And we do really think about China when we think about jadeite and beautiful carvings, which they've been doing for thousands of years. As we know, this wasn't actually jadeite that these carvings were made in. They were actually nephrite, which does naturally occur in China, including famous varieties like mutton fat. Have you ever seen mutton fat jade in person? Was it in our...
We must have done. I don't remember, though. As you might have gathered, I don't remember a lot of things.
Simon has wiped the entire course from his mind.
I'm constantly shoving new things in my head and other stuff sort of falls out, so it's difficult to keep up.
It is. Well, mutton fat nephrite, or mutton fat jade as it's called, is also extremely valuable. I think I read somewhere that it was selling for like more per gram than gold.
There's quite a few things like that, aren't there?
Yeah, and things that we would never even know about or care about, but where they're from, they're like super, super sacred and important. So we will talk about nephrite, which is one of my favorite stones, in another episode, because the distinction is important, I think, especially for gemme and from a Western perspective. But from what I understand, the distinction in China is actually much, much less.
Okay, you're going to tell us about Gina Barnes.
I am. So she is from the School of African and Oriental Studies, and I read her paper, Understanding Chinese Jade in a World Context. And I apologize to everyone for all of these Chinese words that I'm about to completely mispronounce.
Fine.
But what I have learned is that in China, there is not necessarily like jadeite and nephrite going back centuries, because there was no jadeite until the 1800s. There was just a Chinese word, yu. And that does...
why you? Which is how
you.
we've sort of anglicized the word.
I know.
Or the, yeah.
Fine. I'm really sorry about my pronunciations, everyone.
No, I don't know if you're right or wrong.
I think it's probably wrong. And it does refer to jadeite jade, but it actually has a much broader meaning. It means kind of beautiful stone or valuable stone, or something worth fashioning into important objects. So these are like ritual objects, pieces of jewelry, heirloom pieces, and it's basically an umbrella term because it encompasses jadeite jade, but also nephrite jade, which are the two true jades, but also a lot of what we would consider like quote unquote imitations or quote unquote pseudo jades. So in ancient China, where all of these things had the same word to describe them, they all benefited from all of these associations, which actually went back to Confucius, who is like a moral philosopher, and was really important in shaping Chinese thought through the centuries. And he codified jade's perfection literally into his framework of moral philosophy. So he believed that our internal moral quality should be visible in outward behavior. So how we act, but also what we wear. And what rich people wore was jade, which I think is really interesting. And I can't think of anything, I don't know, maybe diamonds? What do you like, Simon? Is there anything in Western culture that would be like an equivalent?
Purple things.
That's true.
So like regal purple dyed things. So only rich people ever wore purple clothing. So like kings and queens would knock about in purple cloaks and purple fucking garms, and they'd be like, "Look at my thing, it's purple." And they're like, "How the hell have you made it purple?" And we're like, "Well, that's not your concern, mate, because I've got enough money to make my things purple when you haven't."
Apparently it's a snail.
Is that where it comes from? The purple dye?
Yeah.
Snail dye.
And Cleopatra's son, with Mark Antony, was actually killed by the Emperor Nero because he wore a purple robe to Nero's court, and Nero was so jealous he had him killed.
Well, there you go. So, yeah, that was a good example, Simon. Well done.
Well done, Simon. That's a good example. And I guess there were sumptuary laws and things like this, weren't there?
Yeah.
So basically what Confucius did is he mapped all of jade's qualities to the qualities of the wearer. And when we say jade, of course, we mean nephrite, because that's what they were using at the time. So if you wore jade, you were benevolent, righteous, wise, trustworthy, and encouraged harmony. And allegedly Confucius said, a gentleman should never be without jade unless he has a reason. And so you'd be covered in jade, and it would be designed in such a way that it would click or rustle as you moved, so that you never forgot that you were wearing it, so that you never forgot to
I think that's really
uphold it.
cool because
Isn't that cool?
it does clack quite nicely actually, jade.
Yeah.
And when and that's one of the ways you're testing how good your jade is from watching this Instagram page that I follow, is that you do clack it, and the clack sounds different if it's like good quality or jadeite jade, depending on, and it versus it being nephrite jade or poor quality jadeite, I think. So yeah, the clack test is a thing as well.
That's pretty cool. What's this Instagram?
Don't know. It's called like real jade or something. Keep talking. I'll find it.
Put it in the show notes.
No, I'm going to tell you in a minute. Keep talking.
Okay, I've got a lot to say.
Yeah, good.
So in Chinese culture, nephrite was called the stone of heaven and earth because it had incredible toughness. It took a long time to fashion, and it required a lot of equipment and skill. So this was nephrite, jadeite, everything was valuable because it was rare, because it took a really long time to fashion, and because it was beautiful. So in that sense, we can really understand why it was so sacred. And when jadeite jade kind of came onto the scene from Burma, it just slotted straight into this U category, right? So nephrite was considered all of these things, then jadeite was considered all these things, and they were just considered all of these things together. All of which is to say that the way that we differentiate jadeite jade from nephrite jade and like natural imitations is really useful gemologically speaking, and really crucial certainly from a Western trade perspective, but not so useful from an archaeological or cultural perspective where all of these things were as valuable as each other. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. Yeah. I've also found the Instagram page, and it is Real Jade Co. At Real
great.
Jade Co. So yeah, follow that, and you can learn about clacking jade, how you're supposed to hand it to people, and see some lovely pictures of jadeite.
Great. Everybody go follow. And in the meantime, I'm going to tell you about this massive sea change that is happening in the gemmological community. And that is down to what jade is actually even called. So let's go back to the question that Simon stumped us so much. Jadeite, it's got an ITE suffix, which makes it a mineral.
Mm-hmm.
How can it also be a rock?
Yeah, because it's an aggregate of the mineral. But I think what we're getting at here is that how much of an aggregate of the rock is jadeite versus other stuff. Is that right?
That is right.
You can have a rock which is purely one mineral, so a monomineralic rock, but that's not even like ever, is that fair to say, what jadeite is, because it's never just jadeite in the rock. So yeah, calling it, so the mineral and the rock are actually sort of two separate things.
Exactly, because there's two other minerals in this party, right? There's umphasite and something I'm going to absolutely butcher, agarine.
Don't look at me that up. Sorry. Umphasite is a good word, though.
Yeah, umphasite's so good, right?
Yeah.
But they're intergrown with jadeite at this microscopic level, right? So, which is fun, in quotes, for gemmologists, because when you're testing a piece of jadeite, especially with this modern lab equipment that can go to crazy extremes and like get the, the makeup of the chemical makeup of like every grain in a mineral, all of your spectrums are going to be different depending on where you're testing this stone. Every chemical composition is going to be different. Every grain is different. And so not only do spectrums and readings differ between specimens, but also between parts of a specimen. And these are all destructive tests. So to really understand the piece of jadeite that you have to literally destroy it, which, for people who just like gems and want to wear them, it's not a big deal. But I can imagine it would be crazy making for like a proper lab gemologist.
Yeah. So those other minerals, the umphasite and the other one that we can't pronounce properly, are also pyroxenes, from what I understand. So they're like, they're pretty similar, and they do each I found this out, have their own distinctive ramen pattern, but sort of narrowing down and focusing in on one little grain to get a ramen shift off it is probably very bloody hard. So yeah, you can't actually just how much jadeite is in your jadeite, which is actually nuts.
Indeed, especially when it's called jadeite, right? Which is actually a complete bastardization of a French or Spanish translation of a word that somebody misheard anyway. Like, so it has absolutely no bearing to anything that jadeite was called in Burma or like any, it's just completely unconnected from the mineral itself and its history and its gemology, which is kind of wild if you think about it.
It really is. So the Chinese have come up with a different name. Is that right?
That is right.
And they call it Fei Choi?
Fei Choi.
Okay. And that sort of is jadeite, jade, nephrite, bit of this, bit of that, jadeite with the different grains, all of them. Is that what we're getting at? And
No,
they kind of don't discriminate. Or no, I'm wrong.
Nephrite is nephrite.
Okay.
Fei Choi is jadeite jade.
With differing quantities of jadeite in it.
Exactly. So rather than calling it jadeite, which is just one of the composite minerals, it's Fei Choi, which has jadeite, omphacite, and the one I can't pronounce.
Got it. Okay. Right. Interesting.
So now you can both go jade shopping in China, and you can argue with your gemme tutor, everybody.
Perfect. we like an argument.
We do. We like to be pedants.
Yes.
I would like to extend my sincerest apologies to the Chinese people if I got any of that wrong. Please do let me know. But it's been a very fascinating journey.
And also, just before we wrap this up, going to touch on the Guatemalan stuff as well. The importance of jade in Central America should not be underestimated because, it's not just in China where it's heralded, as it were. So Guatemala. Tell us about that.
So very ancient Mesoamerica was a major locality for jade. Well, Guatemala was, and it was used all across Mesoamerica. So like the Aztecs, the Olmec, all the way up and down Central and even North America. And there was like an entire city whose entire purpose was just to trade jade. It was like this amazing capital glittering city. And then it just all went away. And in fact, when the conquistadors found all of this jadeite, they assumed that it had come over from Asia somehow, but they were actually more interested in emeralds, so they didn't really care, which is wild. So all of these
affairs.
I know. And meanwhile,
like there's a whole community dedicated to it, and they're just like, not for me.
Like, and trade networks up and down, like beautiful carvings, beautiful sacred objects, heirloom jewelry, like really, really beautiful stuff. But they were obsessed with emeralds. What can we say about Hernan Cortez that hasn't been said already? It's so because they didn't care, they didn't ask anybody where all this jadeite was coming from, right? They just assumed it was coming from somewhere else. And so the location of all of these deposits was just totally lost to history, like concrete. Or is it cement?
Such a madness.
I know, it's crazy. And so it was actually rediscovered in, I think, the 1960s. And that is a story for another day. So stay tuned because we will get all into Central America and Guatemalan jade, what makes it so special, and how it was rediscovered in the first place.
And Vim said he was it's on his hit list to go there and sort of really study this, or he's been. Yeah, listen to the Vim episode because he's big into Guatemalan jade, and like he's big into sort of new deposits of gems. And even though this is a new old deposit, it's still new because we forgot about it for so long.
Exactly, and it's truly beautiful material, really, really beautiful.
Wicked.
Yeah. So jadeite, part 1, or Fei Choi, as we should say.
Fei Choi. That's what we're going to start calling it.
Yeah. No one's going to know what we're talking about.
No, but that's, makes it seem clever.
Well, Well, everybody, thank you so much for sticking with us. Stay tuned for another episode at some stage about Mesoamerican jade culture. I know everyone's excited. In the meantime, you can always drop us an email, facetnation@facetnation.co.uk, and find us on Instagram where they're grinding at Facetnation Gemmology. Simon, any final words this week?
No, I enjoyed that. Thanks very much.
Our pleasure. We will see you guys next week when we are doing, what are we doing after this?
We probably haven't decided yet.
Okay,
We'll
we'll
work
see you
it out
there
due
in the
course.
great unknown future.
We'll see you there. We'll see you when we get there. See you when you get there.
That was lovely. Thank you for the serenade.
Sorry about that. Right. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.